This is Rob Carbone, and you're listening to BD4.
Here's Barrett, some shaking big, hits a three. That's eyes in the crowd with Barrett. 5 on the 24. Barrett previously in the air ball. The drive, the layup, banks it home. Gets it back, keeps it out there. Barrett for three. RJ Barrett from downtown. He quick trigger three. Gets another triple. Looking for more. Smith at the buzzer. From way downtown at the buzzer. No good open look. Puts it in. They're on their feet at Madison Square Garden. Elliott to Ewing. That'll make the Garden war.
Patrick Ewing faced a double team, but still was able to hit.
Finish. And the foul. Easton ducks under. Got it. 8 hands left.
A lot of shit happening tonight, man. A lot of shit going down. Dwight Howard moved. There's still talks about Harden being moved. Now I'm here in Philly. Christian Wood, another big name who the Knicks were, targeting prior to the Toppin noise, which obviously they eventually drafted Toppin, but he signed with Houston. And boy, did they get a fucking bargain on him. They got a bargain. I think they're paying him $9 million a year for the next, what was it, 4 maybe? I mean, yeah, that was a mid-level production deal for a guy who's going to give you some good numbers. I think a lot of shit. The Hayward thing is still in talks. We're going to get into that a bit. Who else? A lot went down. The Rooster will not be making his Madison Square Garden reunion, unfortunately. One of the top guys I asked for, but I think Danilo signed with Atlanta for 4 years, and he deserves that contract. Heavy contract, but he deserved it. He had one of his better career years. Marcus Morris will not be coming home either. Just like that, Knicks fans forgot all about this guy. He is going back to LA, the Clippers, and so some shit is going down. There's a lot of other moves that went down that I didn't even mention, but a lot of stuff. Last time out in episode 180, the other night on Wednesday night, I recorded my reaction to the NBA draft and the Knicks draft picks. Fucking can't talk. So we discussed that for a while, and tonight we're basically going to reiterate some things and review it again and talk about the number 8 and talk about the Knicks number 25 and talk about the other picks they traded for that come in 2 years from now. And then we're going to discuss a lot of this free agency shit, and then we'll wrap it up. So stick around. It's going to be a good show. Thank you for tuning in, though. Again, I'm Rob Carbone. I'm your host of the podcast of BD4. BD4, where there's no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. We are sponsored by Anchor, the best place to get your podcasts. So thank you for stopping by. Thank you for tuning in. Guys, if you haven't subscribed yet to BD4, subscribe to the podcast right the fuck now. Go on YouTube and subscribe to us. You can actually watch the podcast, or you can continue listening to the podcast on all the platforms, or any platform that you get your podcast from, we will probably be on. So in order to find that, all that information, where to follow the podcast and subscribe to it, and where to follow me on social media, and where to follow the blog, and all that stuff, just go to my website. That's all you got to do. Type in nysportstalkrc.wordpress.com. That will take you to my page, and that displays all that information. So, guys, thank you for stopping by. Episode 181 of BD4 tonight. BD4, where there's no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. All right, so we're going to head to our first break, and when we get back, I guess we'll get into things a little bit here on Friday night. All right, be right back. Hey guys, so real quick before we get back to the show, just want to make sure that if you haven't yet subscribed to the podcast, do that right now. Go to nysportstalkrc.wordpress.com/connect. Once again, in order to subscribe to the podcast, and if you want, subscribe to the blog and follow me on social media, just go to my website, nysportstalkrc.wordpress.com/connect. Guys, thank you so much, and let's get back to BD4, where there is no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis, brought to you by Anchor. Yeah, so, Leon Rose drafts Obi Toppin at number 8, then drafts later on, after all those moves, selects Immanuel Quickley at 25, and then we end up with 3 2023 draft picks. So, we discussed all that a little bit. We discussed Toppin. Listen, it was, from what I see, looking around the internet and, reading some articles and listening to some podcasts personally, from what I'm seeing, hearing, and getting the sense of here, it seems like Toppin was a very split. He split the fan base in half. And, a lot of times with the Knicks especially, that's going to happen. You have a very, controversial, draft pick here. The folks that like him because he's talented and he's going to give the Knicks fans something to watch. And, he has hope in him as a very talented offensive player. The folks that don't like him obviously are very, very eerie, and I am too, of his defense. And so, overall though, I'm not trying to get too high. I'm not trying to get too low. I like the pick. I think it was a good pick. I think if there's one draft where you can do the whole talent over fit thing, it's this year's draft, right? You go for the best guy available. Killian Hayes was picked at 7, so you weren't getting him. Lewis Jr., the Knicks, I never really thought they were too interested in him. So I think Toppin was a good pick. Again, he was number 3 on my list. So I gave, if we're going to give it a grade, I would like to think I would give it in the B range, right? B-ish. B plus, something in the B range, B minus, anywhere from there. I don't think it was amazing. I don't think it was undoubtedly the pick you need to like. And on the flip side, again, I don't think it's a pick that, you shouldn't like and you shouldn't understand the reasoning for it. I think it's something that you should kind of just wait and see. You can't really grade it right now, but, from the surface, it looks like it's a solid pick. Obviously, Toppin, again, brings a lot to the table offensively. The athleticism is well above average. He's an excellent finisher at the rim. He's going to throw down some flashy highlight dunks, put himself on the reel along with Mitchell Robinson, bring some excitement and energy to MSG again. He's also a good passer. He's really good at passing for a big. We talked about this and how, being a big that can pass the ball and share the rock is perfect for a coach like Tom Thibodeau, who's used his bigs in the past to dish the ball. And this is the opposite of Julius Randle, right? Where the ball sticks in Randle's hands when he has it. But as for Toppin, he's gonna share the ball. He's gonna make the smart move. Strong post game. I don't think we touched on that. We forgot. But he does have a very good post game. He's strong in the post. He's got a very strong upper body. So I think that, again, is a benefit. And that goes hand in hand with his passing ability because he's very good at passing out of the post across the court, hitting the open wing in the corner. So, that he rebounds, a decent rebounder, It's got to improve. He only averaged, 7.5 against some weak competition as a 6'9" forward. Got to improve, but I think the rebounding is decent enough to where it will be there right away. He'll be enough out of the gate. Eventually, he's going to have to improve his fundamentals on the glass and, things like that. But I think out of the gate, he will be a good rebounder to an extent. And then there's the shooting potential. We're going to discuss that right now. And then, he's a New York guy. Cliche alert, right? But, he seems like he's going to be a New York City guy who will really fit in well here, just in terms of being able to handle it. If you listen to the interview, you can tell. Again, it sounds cliche, but you watch the interview when he got drafted, this kid wants to be here. He was born in Brooklyn, NYC. So, obviously going to be playing in Midtown Manhattan and not the fake Nets, but so he looks like he's a New York guy. He looks like he's born to be a Knick. So, again, you like it. You like the talent. You like the, potential here. Now, here is where it gets tricky. Here's why people are very skeptical. It's what I call the two swing factors. Okay, so the two swing factors of his career. What will depict his fit with the Knicks. What is going to determine his fit with the Knicks? I think it's going to be shooting, if he can continue to improve as a shooter, and defense. Those two things are going to define how he fits with this Knicks squad. Right. As for shooting, again, he was good in college. The numbers were good. Both seasons he played at Dayton, he shot efficiently from downtown. The NBA three-point arc is a little further back, so you have to put that into your thoughts. And again, we took talent over fit, so we still need a point guard to set Obi Toppin up, because this is a guy, Toppin, who did a lot of catch and shooting and a lot of pick and popping, on the wings and the corners. He wasn't always setting himself up. A lot of his makes were off the catch. So we still need a point guard. That's something to think about. And as good as he was at school, shooting the three ball and making free throws at a decent rate, 42% on threes and 71% on the free throw line, he only averaged 1.6 three-point attempts per game in 2 seasons, and he only averaged 3.6 free throws. So it's a very, decent efficiency, but a very low volume. Is that enough to feel confident when you consider the arc's going to be, at NBA level? The Knicks still don't have a point guard to distribute him properly. So you have to think about it, right? You hope that he can become a great shooter, a good shooter even, just be able to stretch the floor a little bit and play the forward position inside and outside the arc. But, if the shooting doesn't translate, it's not good, right? It's a very high risk draft pick, right? Because if the shooting doesn't translate into the NBA, and if he shoots below 35%, 30%, if he looks like Randle, right, that's really bad. That would be a terrible front court pairing with Robinson. You have two interior-minded bigs who cannot stretch the floor, who have no moves outside the RA. That would be an issue. That's not going to work long-term. That's not even going to work short-term. It would just fuck everything up. The spacing would be off. Defenses would read the Knicks' offense. It'd be so predictable. He won't be able to mesh with Mitch. RJ is going to be starting. Won't be able to mesh with RJ. He can't shoot. It would just be a fucking nightmare if the Toppin pick ends up being a guy who can only score on the inside and in the post, right? It's exactly what we saw this season with Randle, Robinson, and Mitch and RJ sharing the floor together. No spacing. So you're going to have to hope that he can improve the shooting from the 4 spot. But, again, if it does translate, there you go. That's a big upgrade over Randle. The spacing is going to look a lot better. Oh, it's going to look so much better if you can. And maybe, with those defensive flaws that we're going to touch on right now, maybe if he can, carry that shooting potential into the NBA, maybe that'll mitigate those defensive deficiencies, right? Maybe that will make it a little easier to live with and make him more of a positive impact player. But the defense is going to have to improve regardless, right? It's a whole lot of mess right now with Toppin's defense. To say his defense is miserable would be complimenting him. It's the pick and roll defense where he's just astronomically terrible. Specifically guarding quicker players in space really gets the best of him. or brings out the worst in him, rather. You know, he's got very poor lateral quickness. He's athletic, but his lateral quickness defensively is fucking gonna make it an issue if he continues to get exposed out there in space. He's got a low IQ, and that's a little concerning, being that he's 22 years old, and you know, he's older for his class. He's already pretty much polished. Fucking so. And some of it is commitment issues. Got to just commit more and stay focused and not be lackadaisical. When you look at him defend, it seems like his stance and positioning isn't great. His center of gravity is way too high. You know, he's standing upright a lot, kind of like when you watch Blake Griffin, right? Someone who stands very tall, like they can't bend. And eventually he's going to have to, you know, build some lower body strength. And I don't know, man. I just hope it can improve, you know, because if that defense doesn't improve, Jesus, even a little bit, you know, he's going to become a plug-in off the bench, right? Like Portis was. You know, he's going to have to play with certain players if he's going to get time. You know, Mitchell Robinson will have to share the floor with him, you know, to mitigate those defensive deficiencies. And I think if you're going to make this work, again, you have to trade Julius Randle. Okay, I'm going to get to that in a second. But again, he's 22 years old. How much more room does he have to grow as a defensive player? You know, most guys, you know, he spent 4 years in high school, he hasn't fucking improved there. 2 years at Dayton, still hasn't improved. Not even gotten good. He still hasn't even changed as a defender. He's always been bad. So it's something to be concerned about. I'm not gonna bullshit you. You know, on the flip side, you know, being 22 means his best years are going to come sooner than the other guys in this class, right? And he's cost controlled going into them, you know, so that's, I guess, the positive spin that you could put on it if you wanted to. And if the defense does improve, you know, to at least average or somewhere near that, you know, it makes the pick a lot much better, and I think people will buy into him more. I think Leon Rose will look like an absolute genius, you know. I think if the defense improves, along with that shooting, I think you have an all-star player in your hands, somebody who can give you 20 and 10. Again, Stoudemire with the jump shot is what I like to call him, a young stat. And, you know, so, you know, some of those defensive deficiencies he has are coachable, right? So you hope, you know, you like to take that as a positive as well, that maybe, you know, Tibbs, being a defensive-minded head coach, can kind of get on his ass a little bit and get him to improve in certain areas. And then Kenny Payne, being a coach who's worked well with big men in the past. So we'll see. But those two things are definitely the swing factor, right? If the shooting is sustained and the defense improves somewhat, it's an excellent pick. But on the flip, if the shooting does not translate and the defense continues to be, you know, an issue, if it remains poor, then you got yourself a bust, right? It's kind of a boom or bust pick in terms of the fit. You know, Amari Stoudemire, or you're getting, you know, fucking Randall Cantor, you know, puts up stats, but doesn't translate to winning. You know, Anthony Bennett. That was the name I threw out there earlier on Facebook. Fuck. But really, are you getting that Stoudemire type of guy? Or are you getting the guy like Cantor, Randall, who puts up empty production? That's what his career is. It's going to be one or the other, right? Could very well be. And you have to think, was his success at Dayton? Some people are thinking that was due to weak competition, low conference school. I don't know. You know, I don't like to put too much into that because I do think he still has potential. I do think the offensive game will be there. You're just going to have to hope that D improves, right? Because fucking, you know, that was why Melo didn't pan out in NYC. His defense was so fucking bad. That was why, you know, that's why Enes Kanter, before and after his Knicks tenure, he's bounced around so many teams. His defense was pathetic in pick and roll. So, you know, we don't want that to become a thing with Toppin. It looks like it could, you know, but we hope it doesn't. I like the pick, man. I'm very, very fucking concerned with that defense, and I've always been. But again, overall, the Toppin pick, I give it a solid B. All right. For now, on the surface, it looks like a B pick. Speaking of Julius Randle, he's got to get traded to make this work. There's no way Randle, Mitch, and Toppin can play the floor, can play at the same time. You've got Toppin and Randle, who just cannot defend to save their lives. So, if Toppin's shooting doesn't translate, you've got Toppin and Mitch who don't stretch the floor. So you got to trade Randle. That's the only guy who's got to be traded. He can't shoot, he can't defend. Get him the fuck out of New York. There's been a lot of names tossed around. The Rozier and Monk thing has been, a thing for months now. I initially hated it, but at this point, we're desperate to find a partner here. I wouldn't be against it anymore. I would fucking take on the bad contract from Rozier, I guess, if we could swap it with Randle and take Monk in return to sweeten the pot. But if I'm Leon Rose, this may be a little unrealistic here, but I am calling Sacramento. I know Buddy Hield wants out. See what's up. He's been unhappy in Sacramento, and he's made that known. Kyle Kuzma with the Lakers. His name has been in the headlines for being traded ever since LeBron was there. Even before, right? That's been a hot topic for a while now. That would be interesting if we could find a way to swap them. Reunite Randle with his former team and put him in a better role as a backup to AD. Right, a sixth man instead of being the number fucking one option on the Knicks. And then the Knicks, they would get in return a much needed shooting wing. That's huge. And Kuzma. But regardless of who, again, it has to happen, right? You need to let Obi Toppin develop. It would just be a terrible pairing if they were to play together. And diminishing the role of Toppin, you don't want that. You want to develop him. And diminishing the role of Randle, I just don't think that'll work. So if it doesn't happen, you just drafted a backup as your number 8 fucking pick, right? So again, it's a boom or bust type of selection in terms of his fit here. So got to get Randle out of here by opening night. Tip off is in a fucking month. So Knicks also drafted Immanuel Quickley, right? The Kentucky ties there with Kenny Payne. Calipari has talked about Quickley a decent amount, and he says he's a really good NBA player. He says he's going to make for a good player in this league, and that look for Quickley to make an impact right away as a shooter. He was 43% from downtown on almost 5 attempts this past year, and he hit an incredibly high rate of his free throws at 92% on 5.2 attempts this past season. So I think he'll be an NBA ready player. I think he'll be a point guard coming off the bench. The most minutes he'll get is normal bench minutes. The likely scenario maybe starts out as a reserve point guard. It doesn't get much time, but I think they need to play him as much as they can, as long as he continues to shoot the ball well, right? The swing factors here are, can he run the point guard enough? Does he fit at point guard because he's more of a tweener? And can he play D at the NBA level? Again, this is somebody who's 188 pounds at 6'3". So he's not extremely athletic either, Quickly. So that's going to be a liability, but how much, right? He does have a 6'8" wingspan, so he can kind of disrupt the passing lanes and stuff. But, his defense and his, undersized frame is going to depict how much minutes he gets at the NBA. How many minutes is he going to play on the floor? As a guy who can shoot but not really do much else. But I do like the Quickley pick. I think it's solid. I think, again, you need shooting, you get shooting. So, Knicks signed Myles Powell. He went undrafted, but the Knicks picked him up, I think, a night after the draft. 23-year-old guard from Seton Hall. Played there for 4 seasons. Averaged 18, 3, and 2 over the course of his career there. And 21, 4, and 3 this past year, shooting 40% from the field. I was going to say floor. And 31% from downtown. That was on 9 3-point attempts a game, too. He's a bit inconsistent, but he is a good scorer off the bounce. He likes to score with the ball in his hands, and He's very ball dominant, scoring focused guy. Shot. Oh, sorry, we crashed there for a second, but quickly, the shot selection can be iffy. Defensively, he's fucking not that good either. But I'm sorry, not quickly. We're talking about Myles Powell. Sorry. And in those 4 years at Seton Hall, some up and down percentages when you look at the 3-point shooting, especially. So we'll see. We'll see. But again, an undrafted, so you take it, whatever. You take a flyer on Powell, see what he can give you. He probably won't even be here long term anyway. So, the Knicks traded for those 3 2023 second round draft picks. I think the main reason for that is because we're hearing that in 2023, that will be the first year where you can, you'll be able to draft a high school prospect, right? That's the first year they're going to make that legal and fucking, hey man, fucking, Mitchell Robinson. That's what I think of. Yeah, they got Mitchell Robinson pretty much out of high school, didn't go to college. So fucking, I'll take it. If that's what they're trying to do, get younger, get as young as you can. What was it, 2 nights ago on draft night, the Knicks, or was it last night? The Knicks waived a large portion of their roster as expected, to clear cap, open up $40 million in cap space, $30 million now with the signing they made with fucking Davis and Alec Burks. We're going to touch on in a second. But they cleared up some cap space. Fucking, Portis gone. Gibson gone. Peyton gone. Ellenkin gone. Thank God. Pinson's gone. Dotson's likely gone, unfortunately. And Kenny Wooten, unfortunately. That was I was hoping he could have been, a backup center. He's gone. The Knicks waived him. And, damn, man, I liked him. But, it makes sense. You got Toppin. That's going to be your guy. And you have Mitch at the 5. So they cleared some cap and obviously for free agency, right? Free agency is here. Free agency is already off to a hot start. Some big signings tonight, as mentioned. The Hayward thing is still going on. That's interesting. The whole thing with Indiana. The Celtics going to try and do a sign-in trade. I'm hearing Hayward wants 4 years, 100. I would not go that far. I would not pay him 25 for 4 years each. 25 each. Fuck no. I would, I would try to keep it 15 million AAV for 3 years. That's the highest I would go. 45 million for 3 years. But that's unrealistic because, again, this guy wants 25. He wants 10 million more per year. And he wants a long deal. So it's not happening with the Knicks. He is a good scorer, good shooter, distributor, good rebounder, good all-around offensive player. A high IQ vet, but for an injury-prone guy who's over the age of 30 now, and obviously that big leg injury, you don't overpay for that. You get outbid if you need to. Don't go into a bidding war. I would fucking hate overpaying for Hayward. Let Hayward go to Indiana. I think they're offering Miles Turner, Oladipo, and maybe TJ Warren, 2 of those 3 guys. That's what I'm hearing. Let that happen. I would stay far away from him for that price. But what does the market look like for the Knicks? We still need a point guard. Obviously, Fred VanVleet would have been, a decent pick. Stellar defense, decent scoring, some shooting, and good playmaking. But I'm hearing he's about to sign back in Toronto. I don't think it's official. I don't think anything is happening. But I'm hearing that he wants to sign there and they want him. So there's that. And plus, this guy's he's gonna want to get paid. So if the Knicks were gonna have to pay him, they would have to pay the premium, compared to any other team who was chasing after. And he said it himself. He's trying to get paid. He was on JJ Redick's podcast the other night, and he said, "I'm trying to get paid, man. I am not shy about that." So there you go. But I don't think he's coming here, which makes the point guard situation a little more fucking nerve-wracking right now. We really need to figure this shit out. We really do. What the fuck are we doing? Who's going to play point guard for the Knicks? You need a quarterback. You can't just go into a season without a fucking quarterback. Do you bring Peyton back? I don't. Fuck. Don't want him back, but who's going to play point guard? Who is it? There's, I don't know, man. You know, do you go to your fallback plans here and chase DJ Augustine or a Jeff Teague? That might be what you have to do. Do you call Washington? You know, John Wall wants out. I don't know. Don't love John Wall. Don't like that idea. Big contract. Won't be the same. But I don't know. You might have to fucking do something, man. You don't have a point guard right now. You did need shooting wings. You still need them. But the Knicks did do something optimistic earlier tonight. They went out and they signed Alec Burks. So, you know, nothing special, but they gave him $6 million for 2021, and I think that's big. You know, it's a bargain. You know, a decent player who can give you decent production. That's exactly what this is, a low risk, decent reward signing. 1 year for $6 million. So that's nothing. In 2020 for both Golden State and Philadelphia, Alec Burks averaged 15 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists. And he did so shooting 42% from the floor and 39% from distance, averaging 4.6 attempts per game. And he played every game. Played all 66 games of the 2020 season. So he's a good scorer, man. A good shooting wing who can play the 2 guard, and he can play all the way up to the 3. So Alec Burks is not a bad idea. I really like that signing. I think it was smart. So what do you do to start the season? Do you go Frank or DSJ at the 1? Burks maybe at the 2 to start? He hasn't started much in his career, but, you know, with the Knicks, you know, a bottom team in the league, maybe he starts at the 2. You go RJ at the 3. Hopefully Toppin over Randle at the 4, and then Mitch at the 5. I think that's what you do to start out. Off the bench, you've got Knox, you've got Iggy. Hopefully Iggy can start to get some big league action here. You've got one of Frank or DSJ. You've got, hopefully not Randle. Hopefully he's traded, but you know, and you got a couple other guys. So yeah, I would like to sign some other wings out there. Joe Harris still out there. Gallinari obviously again just signed. Davis Bertans still out there. Don't think that's going to be realistic. He's going to want a ton, and I don't think the Knicks. I heard they were pursuing him, but I don't know how real that was. I don't know the source. I just don't think they end up with him as much as I want Davis Bertans to bring us some shooting from the 4 spot off the bench. But, you know, I don't think it's realistic. He's a starter, too, and we have Toppin, and maybe Toppin comes off the bench to bring some energy. But I don't know, man. It's fucking interesting. You know, the main thing here, we need a point guard. Are we really going to go into the season giving Frank or DSJ another shot here? It looks like it. Looks like it right now. But hearing talks of a Carmelo Anthony reunion, please don't do that. Love Melo. Appreciated his time here. Didn't work out, and it's not going to work out a second time. It's just him and Toppin, pairing them in the front court. It's a nightmare. Holy fuck. Malik Beasley, another name. Actually, Malik did just sign tonight, didn't he? Yep, there goes that. He signed with Minnesota, who I didn't think he was going to. You know, they drafted Edwards. They brought back Rubio, and they also have Jared Culver on their roster. So I didn't think Malik Beasley was going to go back there, but he did. So there goes that dream. Another name, under the radar name I've heard about was Jordan McRae. I think I didn't even hear this guy until I read about him, but he's been in the league 5 years and played for 5 teams, so something to think about there. He's bounced around for a reason. He's an okay, you know, reserve point guard, shooting guard type, 29-year-old guy. I think he played for Washington this past season, and he averaged 12 points on 36 from downtown. But without Bradley Beal in the lineup, when he was not in the lineup, McRae was 20 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists on 45% from the arc. So, you know, showed some spark off the bench as a scorer, and, you know, maybe give you some punch as a reserve who can shoot the ball a little bit and give the Knicks something credible in the wing position, at the wing positions, or the fucking guard position. You know, I don't know. Again, there's going to be a lot of fallback options right now because guys are signing left and right tonight, big money contracts, some bargains. So I don't fucking know. You know, the Knicks are going to have to jump quickly here and make some moves. The Burks signing was decent, but it's going to take a lot more than Alec Burks to get this Knicks some complimentary fucking pieces. To get the Knicks some complimentary pieces. So we'll see. If there's one thing I don't want this season, you know, if there's one thing I really don't want to fucking see, is the Knicks go out there and tank again. I'm done with tanking. And when I say tanking, I mean trying to lose and just being miserable and hard to watch again. Listen, I'm done with it. I don't want to hear about fucking Cade Cunningham. I don't want to fucking hear about this amazing draft class coming up like I did with Zion, you idiots. You people say this every fucking year, and I'm sick and tired of hearing about tanking. I'm tired of it. The Knicks need to start winning. All right, I'm not a loser with a loser mentality like half of you younger fans. I'm not like that, man. I want to fucking see them win. I want to see it happen now. I want to see some improvement, all right? As Mike Breen said on MSG the other night, nobody wants to fucking play for 20-win teams. That's why they failed to get KD, Kyrie, and that whole fiasco. It's time to get some complimentary pieces. Try to establish a fucking foundation here. Start winning. Try to. Let the kids develop. Let them get their run, their minutes. Aim for 30, 35 wins, an 8 seed. Work your way up. Slowly but surely. Start becoming attractive again. Make MSG great again. All right. It's gotta be. It's got to be it for the whole tanking thing. You got to start showing improvement, or else people are just going to continue to fucking laugh at you. You're going to be in this fucking nonstop loop. Start winning. Start showing you want improvement, okay? And not to sound like I'm contradicting myself, because I said the other night, if we go after Westbrook and try to take that shortcut, that's stupid. You have to try and do it with lower tier stars, or just good complimentary guys, and then work your way up from there. If you get a Westbrook, again, not to get too into it, but basically what I said was he's going to take you out of lottery positioning just to be barely average for a couple of seasons, with 35, 40 wins. I don't like 35, 40 wins if it's because of a stopgap and we're not doing the right, and we're not growing as a unit. The only way I accept 30, 35 wins is if it's this way. If the wins are coming from your younger squad who are going to be here for more than just, a 3-year contract, right? If those 30, 35 wins come with a squad that's growing and you're seeing improvement each and every year, I will take the, missing out on lottery positioning in the draft. I will take that. If those 35, 40 wins are coming with Westbrook, a stopgap who's going to be gone in 3 years and leave you with nothing, overhauling your entire roster and, gutting your future, that's a fucking different story. But I will take a middle of the pack record if it means the young guys are getting minutes, and the young guys are the reason we're starting to slowly, creep towards that 8 seed. I will take it that way. So hopefully the Knicks are doing the right thing. Hopefully Leon Rose and the savvy moves he's made so far as Knick GM continues to happen. I think, you look at it ever since the Mills firing and ever since Rose has taken over, I think there's been more good than bad, right? It's been small things, smart moves, but overall, I think he's done a decent job. I don't think it's been anything crazy, but I think he's done enough to where I'm going to ride with him. I'm going to say, hey, he's doing things that are small market, right? And that's the mentality you have to have when you're a team who hasn't won in a while. You can use your money, yes, but just do it smartly right now. Okay, don't act like a big market when you're 20 and whatever the fuck the Knicks were. You have to gain, in order to get those big money stars and whatever the fuck, you have to fucking earn it. You have to become respectable first. Once you're respectable and fucking people don't laugh at you and make jokes about you on fucking ESPN all the time, once you become a respectable NBA product, then you can start talking about the Giannis of the world, the ADs of the world, the fucking De'Aaron Fox who just resigned of the world. Not now. We got a long way to go. But I think it's a good, start. Toppin, Quickley, bunch of picks in the 23 draft. Ed Davis, backup big, I guess, and then Alec Burks. So we'll fucking see, man. We'll see. We're going to head to break one more time, and then it might be our first break. I don't think we took a break yet. We did take one earlier. So we're going to hit the break one last time, and when we get back, I guess we'll get into the NYK question of the day. I'm Rob Carbone. I'm your host of BD4. Be right back. Hey guys, so real quick before we get back to the show, just want to make sure that if you haven't yet subscribed to the podcast, do that right now. Go to nysportstalkrc.wordpress.com/connect. Once again, in order to subscribe to the podcast, and if you want, subscribe to the blog and follow me on social media, just go to my website, nysportstalkrc.wordpress.com/connect. Guys, thank you so much, and let's get back to BD4, where there is no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis, brought to you by Anchor. Alright, so last time out in episode 180 on Knicks draft night, I asked you fellas, when was the last time heading into this season, aside from this draft, when was the last time the Knicks had 2 first-round picks? The answer to that question was the 2006 NBA draft, when they took one of Toronto's picks. They had the 20th, where they took some guy named Ronaldo Balkman, forward from South Carolina, and then they took the 29th, some guy Collins, a point guard from Temple. So that was the last time the Knicks had 2 firsts, in 2006. So the NYK question of the day for episode 181 for tonight, for this episode. Who wore jersey number 40 for the Knicks in the late 90s and early 2000s? Okay, so who wore jersey number 40 for the Knicks back in the late 90s and early 2000s? I'll give you a little bit of a hint. This player came back to the Knicks in 2013 to wear that same number for a year. So he wore that same number in 2013. But played for the Knicks mostly in the early 2000s and the late 90s. So who was that player who wore number 40 in the late 90s, early 2000s for the Knicks? Your hint, he came back to play for one more season in 2013 with the Knicks. So who is that guy? All right, so give me the answer via Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, preferably Facebook or Instagram, being that I'm not on Twitter nowadays. But if you want to reach me on Facebook or Twitter, that is at NYSportsTalkRC. And if you want to reach me on Instagram, Rob J. Carbone. All right, I am your host, Rob J. Carbone, and this is episode 181 of the podcast of BD4, where there is no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. Guys, if you haven't subscribed to the podcast yet, please do so right now. Go to nysportstalkrc.wordpress.com/connect, and that will take you to a page that displays all of my information. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. It is a Friday night as I am recording. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the episode. I am Rob Carbone, once again, your host of BD4, and I will see you next time out. Thank you guys so much. All right, ciao. This podcast is sponsored by Anchor.